Hi, my name is Dave Staffen. I'm 62 years old. I was born to parents 62 years ago who both adhered to the methods, practices, and traditions of Satanism. A child born into a family whose parents are Satanists has a somewhat different experience than most children. A children born into a family of hatred does not experience love, does not get cuddled, does not hear the words, "I love you, you're a good boy." You do not feel special in any way. And all this is by design, is to create a need in you, a want in you for connection with others. And they wish to erode your compassion so much that you will do whatever it takes to become like them. It's all geared for you to join their cult at the appropriate time. At 2 years old, I was taken to events designed to measure the courage and will and compassion and whether or not you had any spiritual gifts. Satanists wish to know the qualities of their offspring so they can be utilized for the cult at a later date. During these events, animals are used. Fighting is often a part of it. Fighting against other boys, bigger boys, older boys. They test your loyalty to family, to others, whether you'll do what you're told to do when you're told to do it. Because that's what I heard over and over again, is that to be a member of our cult, you have to do what it takes, whatever it takes, when you need to do it. Somehow or other, I was able to withstand that onslaught, because at 3 years old, it got very intense. Sometime in my third year, the events, the 2-year-old events were a night out, it seemed, because ladies were present. There was much gaiety and laughter amongst the adult people, watching their little boys wrestle with snakes or go into a pit where they're full of rats to get your mom's purse for her, things like that. But at 3 years old, everything changed. Often the men wore robes, there was chanting, and events were designed to manipulate the little boy, who was me, to kill a human being, thus becoming one of them. So each event was designed to get me to do that. And the way to kill a human being was to stab him through the heart with a big knife that they would always give you. Each event was different, and it would often involve children, even younger than me, like little babies, who I was asked to protect against vicious dogs, and most often a man dressed as a ghoul with his face painted white. And at some point in the event, that man would be, well, look, as I recall these events, it appears now that man was always drugged. And I could see the fear in his eyes, but he was not able to move. Now, previous to that point in time, they would have a man dressed as a ghoul who would be very threatening to me and the little baby or the little girl I was supposed to protect. And then through some circumstances that were created, he would be lying there or sitting there, unable to move, and I would be handed a knife to kill him. I went through this time and time again, and I know God was with me, because I wouldn't succumb to them, and I would always yell no and throw the knife down. And then I would get I would start running because I knew what happened every time I did that. I would be chased by my dad and the other men and subjected to beatings, torture, sodomy, and mind control. This went on through my 3rd year and through my 4th year. When I was 5 years old, the cult leader declared, "We must destroy him. If we don't, someday surely he will destroy us." My destruction took the form of beating after beating by boys older than me, tougher than me, more than one boy at a time, at cult events, but also in my personal life. One time I was walking to school and a car pulled up beside me, and a boy I had never seen, much older than I, ran out, beat me up, and as I lay on the ground crying, he said, "I'm going to do this every day from now on." And as I looked over at the car he had come in, I could see his dad looking at me with a big smirk on his face. It's important for people to understand that those in the cult world do not think like we do. They love the torment of a fellow human being. They don't mind seeing somebody's blood. They don't mind seeing somebody be killed. They don't mind seeing somebody be hurt, whether it be a 3-year-old child or another adult. Because there's a grown man enjoying my torment. And I experienced that throughout my adult life. I developed no social skills whatsoever because everybody in my life hated me. And some of them would try and hide that hatred behind a facade of good-naturedness, but many of them didn't. And I never understood that. And of course it leaves you with feelings of low self-esteem, low self-love, low self-confidence. If everybody you ever meet hates you, and if every boy you ever look at, you look at as a competitor, whether or not you can beat him, it affects your life socially in a big way. The reason they hated me so much is because to them I represented light, and I wouldn't go to darkness. I wouldn't become like them. I heard those words as a little boy. Will he become one of us? When they were testing my courage as a 2-year-old boy, they liked what they saw, and they hoped to utilize for the cult at a later date. So my destruction involved hiding my courage under layer upon layer upon layer of fear. So I spent my whole life in fear, not even recognizing it as such, afraid of personal confrontations throughout my whole life. The hatred of me by my mom and dad and those associated never left, and it even almost grew through my life, because it was only at 53 years old that I discovered what was happening to me. I was drugged time and time again at family occasions, like Christmas, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day. And being involved in the cult world is just like one of us wanting to send flowers to someone we love that lives across the country. In North America, they have FTD florists, where you call the number, and they'll, if you live in New York City, you can have flowers delivered in Portland, Oregon, which is on the other side of the country. Well, the cult world has a system just as effective as that, because I'm a witness to that and evidence of that. Because no matter where I lived as an adult, I would be drugged by people that I might associate in recreational activities, and I would be drugged and subjected to the depraved, humiliating, and heinous acts of Satanism. And this occurred when I was even in my 50s, up to the age I was 53, before I met the wonderful lady Sandra Fecht, whose methods helped me uncover the truth of my life. I was subject from the time I was a little boy. I mentioned being sodomized and mind control program. Sodomy inflicts extreme pain that allows them to whisper the programs in your left ear, and they will bypass your conscious mind and go right into every cell in your body. And so that is, it affects how you think. You think that program. That is what you become. And so I was subject to mind control programming right throughout my life. And much of the mind control programming I was subjected to was about fear. Fear that if you ever find out what we have done to you, we will kill you. Fear that there is no place to hide, that we are watching, because we are everywhere. And I want to tell you, those fear programs are inside each cell in your body, because I had that fear. When I discovered the truth that my own mom and dad were the architects of all the things that have been happening to me my whole life, it threw me in an emotional, I don't know what they're called, like I had probably almost a breakdown. The fear was so overwhelming, it was humiliating to me to be so afraid. I had a family that I was supposed to be leading. And of course, my family was subject to some of those acts often when we were drugged as a family. And so I wasn't able to lead my family at that time, and it bothered me. And of course, that's when I discovered God. I started reading Psalm 91. And one day while reading Psalm 91, it was like a thunderbolt of insight hit my heart. That yes, when you're aligned with God, you need not fear anything. And that began my ascendance out of the pit of hell on earth that I had lived since birth for over 53 years. And using the healing methods taught me by Sand Effect and facilitated by Sand Effect, her methods are so simple that you can learn them yourself and do much of the work on your own, which I did. And you can remove the effects from the post-traumatic stress incidents of Satanism one at a time with God's help, until the bright light that is you, until your essence begins to shine forth. And then you can be in love and light. When I found out the truth of what had happened to me in 2008, a short time after I got past the overwhelming fear, I made a prayer to God. I declared my intention to God to be all I can be in love and light, and I asked Him for His divine assistance in doing so. I believe that prayer was the key that opened the door to all the step-by-step healing that came my way through Sandra, through my friend Fran, and through others. Because God heals us through others and through prayer. The world needs to wake up. This world is owned by Satan, and we need to take it back. We don't do this with a hammer. We don't become like they do. We take it back by knowing the truth. We take it back by helping those who need our help. We take it back with love, because love is more powerful than hate. As I demonstrated at 3 years old to a room full of Satanists who would rather see me dead than defy them and what they wanted me to do. How is it that a little boy could withstand the onslaught of hatred put upon him? And there's only one answer, that I had invisible protectors with me each and every day. I thank God for each experience I've had since the day I was born. I feel fortunate that that I experienced that fear, because now when I see my brothers and sisters in fear, I understand why they're in fear, and I hope I'm able to help them. Because if we have faith in God, we don't have to have any fear, because God will deliver us. At this time, I'd like to thank each of you who are here for being here. It would be very hard to talk in front of an empty room. So I'm thankful for that. I think each of us is put by God into the perfect circumstances for our life, that we can learn our lessons and progress on the continuum of love back to God. And part of being in the perfect circumstances is that He will present us with choices, and it is up to us to make the correct choice. A difficult choice correctly made puts our life on a higher trajectory. After making one difficult choice, the next difficult choice is easier. And the difficult choice after that one is even easier. So that those difficult choices become automatic. And then one will realize at that point in time, a very short period of time, that they are greater, have more courage and more faith in God than they had only a short time ago. So we should welcome those difficult choices. And if you're ever in doubt as to what the choice to be made is, we can always fall back on the old, what would Jesus do? God has given me this talk for you people today. These words just come through me. So I'm always quite nervous before I get up here, because I've spoken not often enough to know the words will always be there. And so just before, 3 minutes before I talk, I had no idea what the first word that I will say is, and I've done no preparation, so if He doesn't deliver me the words, feel like I'm going to sink. And that's, I guess, a bit of faith in God too. And I have to make sure I don't try and think, because the words just will come through me if I let them.